Hello fellow DIY dreamers! Today I'll show you how to crochet these summer shorts. I've been dreaming about being able to wear shorts for a very long time. I was highly overweight and due to that I never quite felt comfortable doing so. But after losing almost 50 kilograms, I wanted to finally fulfill this little dream of mine. This project is beginner friendly. It is also very individual because we all have different body types and sizes. We use different yarn and hooks, one prefers loose clothes, the other tight fits. So you need to fit this project to your own body and preference as we go. The materials you need are scissors, a sewing needle, a hook, some sort of stitch markers, I use paper clips, and your yarn. I also apologize, I will probably butcher the English crochet language, for I am German. But never mind, let's catch a little dream together. First, we need to crochet our waistband, and we start that with a slip knot. There are a million different ways to do this. This is mine. To do a chain stitch, you simply yarn over and then pull through. That creates little loops. The amount of loops depends on how wide you want your waistband to be. You need to add one loop at the end of each row before you turn your project. I decided on 7 loops, so I chained 8 and then turned for row 2. Now we start with our single crochets. For that, skip the first loop and insert your hook into the second one, then yarn over and pull through, yarn over again, and then pull through both loops on your hook. And you repeat that for the amount of loops you decided on, so in my case 7. At the end of the row, chain 1 and then turn your project. Continue with the single crochets and make sure that you have both of these little yarn threads you see here on your hook each time you insert it. And then you continue row after row of single crochet stitches till the waistband fits around your waist, but more importantly, over your butt. If you have too many rows, lose some. If you have too few, add more. Make sure you're absolutely satisfied with the length of your waistband, because you cannot change it later. And then, join the 2 ends together with a slip stitch. For that, you push the hook through the stitch on both ends, yarn over, and then pull through all the way. So again, push the hook through the stitches on both ends, then yarn over, and pull through all the way. And you repeat that for every stitch, so in my case 7 stitches. Once you're done, I highly recommend checking one more time if the waistband will fit over your butt. We continue with 1 row of single crochets around the entire length of our waistband. So you need to place 1 single crochet into each of the previous rows. This will smooth out those rough edges and give your waistband a nice finish. As you can see here, I also took care of the little thread tail by crocheting it in. I did that throughout the entire project so I would not have to sew them in at the end. This saves a lot of time and I highly recommend it. With a slip stitch at the end you complete the row. So one slip stitch, then chain one, cut off the thread and pull it tight. And with that the front of your waistband is done. Due to my proportions, my waistband will stretch out each time I will pull my shorts over my butt. So I decided on a waistband with a drawstring to have a better fit. That little line marks the center of the back of my shorts. It will not be visible at the end because for the drawstring I will flip over the waistband and attach it to the backside later. And now we start with our second color and half double crochets. At the beginning of each row we need to chain 2 to match the height of the half double crochet stitches. We will place 1 stitch in each of the previous rows, just like we did on the other side, and make sure to crochet in that little thread tail. Trust me, it saves so much time. Yarn over, then insert your hook. Yarn over again, and pull through. Yarn over and then pull through all 3 loops on your hook. That is called a half double crochet, and we will be using that stitch for the rest of our shorts. So one more time, yarn over, insert your hook, yarn over and pull through, yarn over and pull through all 3 loops on your hook. To finish the row, use a slip stitch again and place it into the 3rd of those little loops. Then chain 2 and continue with your next row. The color pattern for these shorts consists of 4 rows, in my case 3 white and 1 yellow. That is 1 section. The first section will be the back side of our waistband. As you can see here, we will flip it over later like this, and that will be the waistband with the drawstring. Compared to my hips, my waist is rather small, so I will increase my stitches to make the shorts wider in places I need more room, like my hips and later my thighs and my butt. I marked the center of the back of my shorts with a paper clip and then counted the same number of stitches to each side and marked those with a paper clip as well. Those 2 stitches, the ones on the sides, are where I will do my increases. And to increase, I put 2 half double crochet stitches into the same stitch instead of just 1, as you can see. So this was the first one, and now I place a second one into the same stitch. And I do that on both sides of the shorts. I continued increasing row after row each time I got to those 2 paperclip marks. You, however, have to decide whether you want to increase around your hips at all and for how many rows you want to do so, depending on your body type, your proportions, and also the thickness of your yarn. If you have yarn that is very thin, your rows won't be as wide, so you might have to increase over a bigger amount of rows compared to my scrap yarn, for example, which is doubled, so very thick. I ended up increasing over 8 rows, followed by 4 more rows where I didn't increase. Now it is time for another set of increases around the butt and the thighs. I counted the stitches from one side to the other and then placed 2 more paper clips where I wanted to increase around my butt. I increased my stitches in these 4 places. I did that for 8 more rows and then followed by 12 rows without increasing, as you will see in a minute. Again, the amount of increases depends on your body, so this varies from person to person. So this is where we are at the moment. Those were the 8 rows where I increased, followed by the 12 rows where I didn't increase. When your shorts reach your thighs, it is time to join the front and back piece together. By doing that, we create 2 leg holes. I counted the stitches in the front and back and marked the center with a paper clip to know where to join later. For the color pattern to work, we need to crochet 2 more rows and then connect the front piece with the back piece and then crochet 1 more row for each leg before we change colors. Make sure to start this section of your color pattern at one of the paper clip marks. After 2 rows, chain as many loops as you think you need before you attach the chain to the other side with a slip stitch. I chained, I think, 15 loops, and then I connected it where the paper clip marked the center of the front. Please try on your shorts to see if you need to adjust the number of chain stitches before you continue. While you crochet, the outside of your shorts is always facing you, so to keep crocheting into the right direction, you need to turn your project like this. So the outside is still facing you. And then you chain 2 and start with a 3rd row for that leg hole. Once you reach the chain stitches, make sure that you insert your hook the right way, as you can see here. It is also important that you have the same number of half double crochets as you have chain stitches. So in my case, the 15 chains need to turn into 15 half double crochets. And then you finish the row with a slip stitch and chain 1, cut off the thread and pull tight. Now you finished this leg hole, so you need to add the last row for the other leg hole before you change colors. On the other side, it is not as important where you place the stitches exactly, just make sure that you have the same amount, so in my case 15 again. And then add 1 yellow row for each leg hole to finish the color pattern section. To make sure that your shorts will turn out even, I would highly recommend counting the stitches one time for each of the leg holes. In my case, I had a difference of 1 stitch, which is not a big deal. I still decreased my stitches. To do that, you simply skip 1 stitch and insert your hook into the next one, leaving 1 stitch empty, as you can see here. And you do that preferably in a place where it's not as noticeable, like the crotch or in the back. If you run out of thread mid-row, this is how you would change your yarn. You hold on to the new thread, yarn over and insert your hook, yarn over and pull through like you would for any other half double crochet stitch, and then you place the tail thread around your hook to crochet it in. Make sure to pull on both of these little tail threads to tighten up your stitch, and then you keep crocheting them in. And then you only need to decide on the length of your shorts. This again comes down to personal preference. I would have liked mine to be even longer to cover up my thighs a little more, but I ran out of yellow yarn, so too bad. If you have been consistent with taking care of your little thread tails, you should only have to sew in those last 2 and the one at your waistband. If not, you need to secure all the little threads at this point and then cut off the extra. Make sure to do that on the inside of your shorts. I like to use a braided band whenever I apply a drawstring. You can decide how thick you want it, and it won't get undone so easily. For the yarn strands, I ended up tripling the length of my waistband, but double would have been sufficient though. Once you have your braided band, it is time to finish your waistband. You pull the band through with your hook, but make sure that you leave a little gap in between the two tails. The most important part of sewing in the drawstring is to do it without losing the elasticity of your waistband. And we do that with an elastic stitch called the Herringbone Stitch. I'll show it to you on some cotton here to make it easier for you to follow. When it comes to sewing, I'm left-handed, so for all the right-handed people, please mirror my stitches. As you can see here, the width of my waistband fits with the color pattern. If yours is thicker, you can still align it with the first color stripe of your first section. I also made sure to sew in the little thread tail straight away, but you can also sew it in at the end. The herringbone stitch will keep your waistband elastic. Then all that is left to do is sew in your yarn and you're done. No matter your size, your body type, or your crochet skills, this is a fun summer project and I'm personally really happy with the result. Losing so much weight felt freeing, and I'm looking forward to making more clothes to appreciate and celebrate my body transformation. I am someone who values sustainability, natural fibers, holistic approaches, learning new skills, making myself less dependent on big companies, and returning to a more traditional and slower way of doing things and living in general. If that resonates with you, I invite you to subscribe to my channels, but for now I hope you enjoyed this tutorial and maybe I will see you in the next one. I hope you have a lovely day.